Let's start here, and we'll just go down there. Go ahead, Damien.
Good morning, Emma.
Good morning.
As you start this new year, just your thoughts on last year, and then how important is this camp, you think, going forward for all the young players in here?
Well, first off, every camp is equally important. Like, I always approach things like it's the day before a World Cup final, and every game should be played with that same intention, no matter the starting lineup. Yes, we have a much different group than we would ordinarily have, but what a great development opportunity for so many of them, that not all of them, I think, will compete to be part of the group that qualifies for 2027, but I've said it countless times, my job is to prepare players not just for a single tournament, but to line up successive competitive teams, and some of these players I think that we'll see on show could be stars of 2031, as well as some that will push into 2028. So I think we have to be mindful of that. When you put together groups of players that haven't competed together on a regular basis, they don't have the connections. So I think, I've said this all week, sometimes I think it will look clunky. I think there might be moments that they're so keen to prove because there's limited opportunities. But I'll say the same to you as I've said to the players, which is just have a great time representing our crest. Keep applying everything we're asking you to do, and do it knowing that mistakes are all part of what will get you to the next step. So from that perspective, I expect all of those things, as well as the opportunity to see which players shine that can really, really push into the core group.
Scott.
Hi, Emma. Wondering, over these two games, how you're looking to use your roster. Is the idea that everybody is going to get a certain amount of time on the field?
Yeah.
And also in defense, and especially in central defense, what are the things that you are looking for that you want to see from the players?
Yeah, I mean, as I've said before, a lot of these players are right at the beginning of their pre-season, and we want to work with their clubs to ensure we send them back in the right possible place. Trinity Rodman will be the captain tomorrow, and we will have two different starting lineups, game 1 and game 2. I will make a maximum number of subs in both games, perhaps even as early as 45 minutes, depending on the the positions of each player, and then probably 60 will be the latest. So I expect to make a maximum sub by that moment in time, because we want to gradually build players back in, and then there'll be another lineup for the game a few days later.
And what are you looking for from, especially in center?
I think Jordan Bugg's absent today, so she's had a little bit of a cold. So she was originally scheduled to play for game 1, but she's now going to be in game 2. But I'm looking for them. Some of our core themes this week is making sure in our build-up, we're making the right decisions. So making that, I never like to say too much tactically on it, but like make the correct decisions. And then out of possession, how we're organising ourselves to be nice and compact. I think they're probably the two key things that we're looking for from those. And I've made it clear to the players too. I think Naomi Girma, Emily Sonnet, they're the most experienced players in here. Behind that, and yes, we don't have Tierna Davidson back with us, I think it's about the 4 that are here, plus Tierna really competing to push themselves into that core group. And so all I ask is that just one step, like from the last time you're with us, that you keep adding the things that we require within our game model are the most important messages. But these have all been outlined to the players in my individual meetings with them this week.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for taking the time today. Trinity has earned 1 cap since winning Olympic gold, yet she's the most cap player on the roster. How has her veteran presence impacted the more inexperienced players during camp? And have there been other players who have sort of taken on a more natural leadership role?
Yeah. I spoke with Trin at the beginning of camp to tell us she'd be the captain in the first game, if she would come through training to start, and we spoke about the expectations of those things in front of the group, and all the little details that we were looking for. And one of the things that I'm spoken to about is that when there is an absence of so many caps and so much leadership here, how are you transferring those values and those customs a little bit around our culture so that everybody, we can steer everybody in the direction that we want. I've also had the same conversation with Claire Hutton. I've had the same conversation with Emily Sams. I think, those three in particular have been given more leadership responsibilities by me this week. I think they're probably the key ones.
Sandra down the end here. Pal's coming. Hold on, Sandra.
Hello. Hi, Emma. Good morning. Thinking back to last year, you were so open and transparent in terms of your vision and your planning for 25 and how you wanted to utilize it. Launching the Futures Camp, kind of reboosting the U23 program and all of the things that you wanted to accomplish in that year. For 2026, with this camp and this window, the timing being so unique, how are you utilizing this one to sort of kind of propel things and map things out for the remainder of the year? And would love to also just hear your thoughts on the historic deal for Trinity Rodman, and feels like it was a long time coming for that player.
Well, I'll start out with the year's planning. It's always about working backwards. So our job is to get the team in a position come World Cup qualification that we've achieved the things we've set out to do. So we've established, well, what are those things? From always a tactical perspective first, like what do we want the team to be able to master? Then obviously breaking it down in the volume of interactions we have, and then the detailing around, how we achieve that through our session planning, how we achieve that through our classroom stuff, how we achieve that in between. So we have a clear roadmap for that. The second is this window in particular is, I've stated this before, we have a minimum of 17 possible players that I think will be in contention for She Believes that are not here. Okay, so which 6 to 8 players are now competing from this group to join that, beyond some of them that I think that were part of that 17, 18. So I think it gives us a chance to actually really look which ones are much closer to competing with the team in preparation for qualifications and which ones are not, and lay out their individual development roadmaps. As I've said, is it 31 based, is it 28? But also give room to players that, well, what if we've got a core group of players that we've identified as our core group, giving space for somebody to come through that, because that happens. It's still, X amount of months. There's probably 519 days until a World Cup. So with that in mind, we've got to give ample opportunity for any player outside of here to hear the message from me that, listen, this is not set, but we do have to push forward with a core group, which She Believes will be about. And then I think I want to create as many adverse situations for the team. So quality, diverse opponents here, She Believes. Japan's been announced, yeah?
Hasn't, but tomorrow. It's all right. He's coming out tomorrow. There's more details that you'll get tomorrow, so we're good.
There's another great camp after that with another top-level opponent, and you get the theme. So do I think we're going to be playing high-level opponents, but a year on, the demands would be greater in terms of the expectation, but more in relation to like getting closer to the game we want to play, as opposed to like just focused on results. Trin, first of all, I'm always going to celebrate milestone moments for the women's game, and I'm all about progress and investment. I've said this many times, the women's game, we haven't received the same level of equity and the access to and the resources to grow our game in the same way, because many, many reasons. So when I see a landmark moment like yesterday, of course I'm happy for Trin, but I'm happy for the whole, because it means that people are investing, one, and two, that I'm always about let's keep raising the bar for that and what that looks like. I think it's a monumental achievement for NWSL. It means that it's a league that wants to retain its top talent. You can't talk about attracting, you need to retain the top talent. And I think it's really fantastic for NWSL that they've been able to keep Trinity Rodman. And I think knowing that she's going to be settled and happy in Washington is going to be a win for the US Women's National Team, because, as I've always said, happiness and what they want is of the highest order to me.
Hi, Emma. Forgive me, my voice is still coming back. Just to piggyback off of that a little bit, you talked earlier this week about the legacy of the United States Women's National Team. So this is twofold. One, tomorrow's game, we're honoring Kristen Press from Los Angeles. Obviously, you didn't get to coach her. I believe you may have coached against her once or twice. But can you talk a little bit, one, about her impact, but two, about the impact of the last generation and which lessons you really want this core group of young players
What was
to
the
take?
last part?
Sorry. What lessons from the previous generation do you want your current group of players to take forward?
Well, I'll probably start with that, because that's always my starting point. Like, what do we build off? So even when I was talking about the Trinity Rodman announcement to the team today, I talk about it in relation to the history of the program and the milestones. So I think, when I think of Kristen Press and how well travelled her career was, I think she had to do that in the backdrop of maybe not it being a little bit harder to make those choices as a US Women's National Team player. Whereas I think in this day and age, there is more freedom to move, or more opportunity too, that comes with that, because the game has grown. So I think of Kristen Press as somebody who pioneered in some regards to play abroad, to go and do different things, but at the same time, I've said it many times, there was so much about her play that I used to watch, and I was like, she's such a difficult player to go up against. She's not going to be a traditional 9 in the sense she plays in spaces really, really well. She's really, really difficult to mark, and she turns up and faces you in areas. She was one of the most threatening players in the world, driving at a player, and her final third play, I was always a big fan of her play. So really delighted to honour her. And I know I shouldn't say this, but honestly, I'm one of the biggest fans of the US Women's National Team, even though I'm the coach of this team. So when whomever it is being celebrated, like, I feel like I get the chance to honour that and celebrate that as well.
She's often told the story about her and Rose being the two biggest 99er fans.
Yeah, definitely.
The 99ers
I
camp.
never forget Rose's face when we were having the lunch with all of them, and I'd been smart enough to not only get the 99 jersey, but I'd already thought out where the signatures would go for when it's framed, and she hadn't. So I'd got it on the front below the crest, and she'd got it behind, and she was devastated, but I would not swap my shirt with her. Sorry. Get the crest put on the back, Rose.
All right, we only have time for a couple from online. So Ann Peterson, go ahead, Ann.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I wanted, building a little bit on what you said about Trinity and investment, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Michelle Kang and her investment. She was instrumental in making sure that Trinity stayed in the NWSL. She also funded the Kang Institute, which you were involved in. And I wanted to hear about what you think her contributions to women's soccer, both financially and supportive of women's soccer, mean to the game.
I think in the true spirit of being who I am, I want to celebrate all of our owners first, because of the investment all of our owners commit to. And I've said this too, is that as the sport that's growing in its infancy, they have to invest a lot and also, lose a lot of money by putting upfront investments in. So all of our owners, I think, are doing a tremendous job with that. But I think when it comes to Michelle Kang, I don't think I've ever met anybody quite like her. Not just in terms of her commitment to invest in the women's game in the way that she has. It's easy to look at the dollars that are being put in by her, but actually, if you meet her and you get to know her, she's so passionate about women's football globally, and she's so determined to play a significant part, not just in shaping the next direction for the women's game and leading the way with that investment, but in her commitment to research, to education, to developing the insights. That's go back to the equity piece that is going to have a bigger impact on the broader game. And some of that impact won't be felt in its entirety just yet. I think the US Women's National Team, through the Kang's Women's Institute, will benefit with those insights. But our goal, and our collective goal, is that we build insights over the entirety of that investment, so that it impacts the broader landscape. And in our mind, we think about Project 31, and we think about the legacy of 2031 and what could that look like as a nation that has always led the way. And we don't want it to be just about performance on the field. We want to be able to give the right insights to support keeping young girls in the game, to keeping women in the game, whether you coach, whether you lead, whether you administer, whatever, to sharing what we think might be the important things, I don't know, for a HR team, if you want to keep women in the sport in some capacity. But most importantly, positioning all of it through an entirely female lens, but backed up with empirical research in and around all of the things that really, really matter. So that for me will be the true legacy of that investment, is what are we leaving behind beyond just those at the elite.
We only have time for one more because we got to get everybody in the mix zone, so we'll go to Jonathan Tannenwald. Go ahead, JT.
Excuse me. Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
I saw your post a couple days ago about Pat Summitt, and having worked with her a little bit in the past, I'd like to think she'd be interested in your work as well. But I did want to ask you another question about Trinity Rodman. In the days since you found out that the deal was done, and I think we all know it wasn't just done yesterday. It had been close to done for a while before that. But as you've watched Trinity this week in camp, have you noticed, a burden off her shoulders at all now that it's done? Because she obviously had quite an emotional investment in it herself.
I think first off, I want Trin just to be Trin, the football player, when she's here, and that she can focus on being one of the team, can be, just focused on that. So I've been conscious not to overwhelm her with anything else other than making sure she does everything right to be prepared for the team every day. I think when it comes to a weight off of her shoulders, I think Trin's been clear on what she wanted. I think she, the conversations her and I have probably had is that she does care deeply about the impact of the game beyond herself. She does appreciate that being a role model for the sport, and she wants to do that in America. And she wants to elevate the NWSL, as do all the players. and she recognises that being in the spotlight, you know, comes with that. But I think if you see with the maturity of her and handling of the press yesterday, I you know, I haven't told her this yet, but I was like, you know what, you're really growing up, and I'm always proud of that. So I think being settled for any player really matters, and I think having that clarity now, now it's about, okay, how do you accomplish your next set of goals, whatever they are, and can focus on that rather than the conversation around her contract.